Hello and welcome back to another one of our White Dalton videos. This time we've got a guest. Mike, thank you for coming in.
No problem at all.
Now this is Mike Abel, for those of you that don't know, and I've got to say I'm a big fan, okay?
Thank you very
follow
much.
your YouTube channel. I am genuinely a fan of the work that you do. And I think part of this is because I'm mechanically inept, I can do basic stuff.
Yep.
I really enjoy watching your stuff where you show us amateurs how it's really done.
I think that's the audience I've always been trying to go for. Just trying to show people a bit of what I do in my daily work and what people take from it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So genuinely, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And we got you in today because I wanted to show the viewers some of the things that you see in your day-to-day work as a mechanic and the legality. So, I mean, off camera, we've been speaking about some real horror stories, okay? And no one likes to talk about crashing a motorcycle, but can we please talk about the CB1000?
Yes, of course we can.
That you had an off on?
So it's actually a story that I haven't really told many people at all. It's something I had in the workshop a couple of years ago now, and it was a bike that I had in, and out on a test ride, I actually crashed a bike, which is never something you want to tell anybody, but it happens. And fortunately, the customer was really received it very well, which was a great thing. So it did go down okay.
Also, that's doubly bad. It's bad enough crashing your own bike. It's doubly bad crashing someone else's bike.
Yes.
Yeah, oh dear. So go on. So how and why did you have this crash?
So this bike was in my workshop for just some routine maintenance work. I was just out on a test ride, and when I was out on it, the steering jammed. Slow speed corner, 20 mile an hour, the steering locked up and it threw me off the bike. Fortunately, it was only a slow speed corner. I had been doing much higher speeds previous to that. So it was quite fortunate. It was when I was slow, almost back at the workshop, I tipped over, dropped the bike.
So hang on, so you're mid-bend,
Yep.
and the steering just locks into position.
So I went into the corner. It was a really slow corner. I remember going in feeling, this feels strange. Going in, had to pull the steering quite tight. And as I was trying to lift the bike back up to come out of the corner, it locked. And I just couldn't pull it up. I couldn't bring the bike back up because obviously you got to counter steer to do that. And the bike just fell on the floor. So yeah, that was what happened.
But why? So what was the cause? What caused the accident?
So I got the bike back and I had a little look at it, and the steering dampener on the Honda. So it was a CBR 1000. They've got the center mounted steering dampeners, electronically controlled. The actual rod, aluminium rod connecting the yoke to the damper itself, had snapped. And that rod had then jammed itself underneath the dampener in between the body and the chassis. I could see the mark where it jammed itself in, and it locked itself in really tight, and it just locked the steering. And that's what happened.
And in fact, so years ago, I had a fire blade, and I remember when you sat on a bike and you looked down, you've got the HISS, the Honda like immobilization system, and I think the dampers on the CB1000 are hidden away, aren't they?
So there's like a cowling, because it's a fake tank. There's a cowling that goes over the top of it, so you can't really see any of the workings of it. You can just see the very top of the actual damper, and it snapped underneath there, and you could just see the evidence of where it snapped.
Yeah. Now we were talking off camera about the legalities of that, and in fact, if you're unlucky enough to have an accident like that, first of all, that's not your fault. If you've got steering which locks on a bike, there's nothing you can do. You're a pure passenger at that point. So I think it's inevitable that you're going to be going down. We were talking about claims against manufacturers. And actually, if you can prove that the defect on the bike is a manufacturing defect, then either the manufacturer has a liability to you or the seller. Now, because of the quirks of English law, you'd always want to bring your claim against the seller. Okay. Now, in this case, it's not your bike, so you can't bring that claim. It'll be the owner's duty to bring that bike. And these types of cases really depend on evidence. Evidence is key, because without having that bike and having that aluminium rod examined, you will never know if that is an accident repair from previous, in which case the manufacturers have nothing wrong, or actually whether the casting or the construction of that aluminium part was not carried out properly at the factory, which is why it's failed all those years later.
Okay.
So, I mean, what did you actually do? Did you go to the client or pay out?
So yes, I went straight to the client, told him what had happened. Fortunately, he was very these things happen, not a problem at all. He was really good with it, which was thankfully great. Obviously, I just covered the cost of all the damage, the repair. I could have gone through my insurance. Obviously, I had insurance in place. At the time, I think everyone has these issues. Insurance is extremely expensive. I didn't want to put the premiums up. So I just end up paying for that myself. I think the total bill was just over £1,000. By the time you fit a couple of plastics and a couple of trim bits and pieces, it tots its way up, and it was about £1,000 in the end. But I covered that myself, and that was the outcome for it for me.
Well, that's interesting actually, because you talk about economics, because if you want to have that aluminium part examined by an expert to work out if it's a manufacturing defect, you're going to be spending £2,000, £3,000, £4,000.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it doesn't become economic to spend that money to get £1,000 back. Yeah. So, it's a sad story. I'm glad the client took it well, but this is both the joy and the sadness of riding bikes. They are fun, but equally you can get it wrong on bikes as well.
Yeah, these things do happen, don't they?
Yeah. Can we talk about custom bikes?
Of course we can.
Okay, because I know that you get a lot of custom or one-off specials in your workshop, and it's fair to say that you get some very good custom bikes in and some absolute horror stories.
So we were just saying backstage a minute ago that I worked for a custom Harley place for a couple of years at the start of when I started being a motorcycle mechanic, and I saw all sorts. People that had done jobs themselves that were almost unrideable, which is something I think we're going to touch on in a minute.
Yep.
So it was bikes that were almost unrideable in the modifications that they had done to them. Fortunately, I get the option to pick and choose what I work on nowadays. So I get to work on some really lovely, nice custom stuff nowadays. But there's a whole spectrum of, custom work and things that are done to motorcycles. So what I wanted to know more about was the legality and the insurance issues regarding bikes that people have worked on themselves, really, and things that they've done their own modifications. That side of it.
Should we start with the insurance point? Because when you insure a bike, you have to answer all of the questions honestly. Okay, that's set down in the legislation, which is applicable now since 2013.
And there's definitely certain insurers that are better at this, right? So some insurers are very good with custom bikes, and they actually go through all these points really well.
Yeah. And so the first point is you have to be honest about the modifications that you've carried out. So if they ask the question, are there any modifications? The answer is yes. You literally go through and list them. And I know some people have got highly modified machines, other people less so. But the starting point is, if it's in the contract and you've been open and honest about the modifications, then the insurer will cover that as a contractual term. Okay. And some insurers, you are right, they're better than others, because some will say, we'll put that back to stock if you have an accident. So thank you about telling us the modifications, but we're not going to insure them per se. Okay. Others actually go, thank you very much. If you have an accident, and it needs to be repaired, we will put it back to the state it was in at the point of insurance.
So will that be in the small print of most insurances? Can you look into that? Something you should look into?
Yeah, that's a pretty important part of the contract, I have to say. So
I'll be honest, I never knew about that. That's new to me. That's new to me.
Yeah. You need to know what you're buying product-wise. Yeah. And some insurers just will not insure modifications. Sorry, when I say that, I mean they will not insure to put it back to its modified state, albeit they have to be aware of the modifications at the point that they insure the bike. So it shouldn't be hidden away in the small print. You as a consumer should be able to ask the insurer, if this goes wrong, what are you paying? And I've say in my experience, a lot of the mainstream ones will say, we'll put it back to stock. So anything that you've done paint-wise or modification-wise.
Could you specify that you want it put back to the condition it was broken at, or the modified condition?
You absolutely can. And I think this is where you get into the world of going to specialists, really. Okay. So specialists will know the market, will know what custom paint costs, will know what custom suspension costs, and they will say, yes, we'll do it. You're probably paying a bit more premium-wise.
Of course.
You're almost going into the world of an agreed value as well for the bike.
Yes.
So yes, you can underwrite it. You might have some challenges finding the underwriter to do it, but perfectly possible. Now, this brought up the question over legalities of the modifications.
So there's two things that I saw a lot of that I always thought every time I rode one of these custom bikes were horrendous. So they actually really made the bike almost unrideable. Two of the main ones I saw were people putting long extension forks on. There's a term for it. It was called chopper flop. So this is when the front end of a bike was so raked out and you'd change the rake angle of the head so dramatically, the front end would try and fold. It's so common, it's actually got a term for it, but it's dangerous. You can't say it's not. So even if you tell your insurance about that, is that something that there's anything that they need to be aware of?
Yeah, right. That's a really interesting point, because on one hand, you've got a duty to tell the insurer of all the modifications. If you've done that, fine. A lot of policies that I've seen do contain a clause about safety or upkeep of a bike. So you've got a duty as an owner of that machine and user of the machine to make sure that it's mechanically sound, it's MOT'd, it's road legal.
Yes.
Now, this is where we could have the butting of heads between you having a really cool modified bike, but it actually being borderline dangerous. Does that conflict then with part of the insurance policy terms where they say it needs to be properly maintained and properly kept? I've never dealt with a case in all the years I've been doing it where those 2 points have conflicted and you've got a dispute between the insurer and the person with the insured bike. Okay. What I have seen quite recently, actually, some insurers will police this term by going through the MOT database. So if you go on the government website, you can type in a registration number and it will tell you the history of the bike. I do it sometimes when I try and buy a new bike. When was it?
I think everyone does.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, this is it. And you can see there, has it got any major defects and a minor defects? What's wrong with the bike? What do I need to look out for? So I am aware of insurers trawling that database. And in this one case that I'm thinking of, they then voided the insurance policy on the basis the bike had a dangerous defect, that the client had taken it home to fix it, but then sadly had an accident on the way back. Okay. So the insurer's point was, well, it's a part of the insurance product. Is it part of our terms of agreement that you will keep the bike in a mechanically safe condition, and we say you're in breach and therefore we're voiding the policy. So it does happen. It can happen. I think maybe why I haven't seen it in practice is because people that love their machines, that spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort modifying them, enjoying them, they don't do many miles on them. They really don't. They might go out on a Sunday, when it's sunny, and it hasn't been sunny for about 3 years. But
average mileage I see is less than 2,000 mile a year.
Yeah,
bikes. People don't use it much.
Yeah. So they've become toys, haven't they? Yeah. And I think that's maybe why we're not seeing these two conflicting terms, because they very much can be a conflict between what you've done, what you've disclosed, and actually the lawfulness of the bike being used on the road. Should we get on to the S1000R? Yeah. So this was a story that you told me off camera. I'll let you repeat it and then I'll jump in with my views on it.
Perfect. So this was a customer of mine. He actually came to me for a quotation for some work. Basically, the backstory of that work is he had his BMW. We are allowed to say what the manufacturer was.
Yes,
I think that's
no
okay.
problem. Yeah.
I think that's all okay. So he had some work done under, I think it was warranty work. Where I'm from, Norwich, the actual local dealer had closed down. So what they referred to was another company was going to pick it up. Again, another main dealer. They were going to pick it up, take it away, and bring it back with the work done. So they picked the bike up from the customer. He was a bit concerned when they first picked it up, and they pushed it onto a trailer, and they were going to go do, I think it was December, horrible weather, rain and snow and horrible weather, and they were going to take it 150 miles away. So they towed it away, and it came back 2 weeks later, and the condition of the bike was, let's say, not good.
It's appalling, isn't
it?
Now, and in fact, we've got some images to put up on the video, and you'll see them going across the screen. If this is your pride and joy, I get why he's grumpy.
And this was a pristine, very low mileage BMW. It was only a couple of years old, and it came back a real stain.
Yeah. So we've got stone chips to the forks. We've got bodywork damage.
Yeah, there was quite a couple of scratches. Maybe they were really big stone chips, but they were scratches to the tank, rust on discs, and chain sprockets were in horrible condition. It wasn't good at all.
And if you're lucky enough to keep your bikes undercover, I mean, mine, other than the work bike, which I'll commute, and go to court on, the pretty sports bikes sit in the garage or in the shed, tucked up over winter. You know?
And this was his pride and joy that he only used in the summer, and he was getting it done in the winter in preparation. So yes, it wasn't a good state.
So I get why he's grumpy. Now, what we were talking about off camera was actually, was there any claim against the company that took the bike away or the manufacturer? Now, I have to say, I was disappointed. I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed to hear the advice that he got when he spoke to a solicitor.
Yes.
So just run me through that before I jump in with what my advice is.
Yeah. So there has actually been an outcome to this case. So he has actually come to a conclusion, but I really wanted... I'll be honest, I wasn't satisfactory for him, the conclusion of the outcome. So that's why I wanted to get your opinion on it, really.
Well, I mean, what was the repair bill? It was just shy of £4,000.
For the parts, obviously there was fork stanchions that it needed, lots of plastic works, chain sprockets, brakes. It was quite a lot to get it back to where it was. It was quite a big bill that it needed to be done for it. So basically what happened was he got the bike back, And it took him several months when he was going through the process just to try and see what was happening. It got to summer and he decided that he wanted to ride the bike. So he booked in with me to just do the safety features on it, just make sure it was good to ride. So things like brake, I think we just looked over the brakes. I put some new discs on it, chain and sprockets. I think that was it. And I think he got it professionally cleaned as well. So he got it to a point where it was rideable, but it definitely wasn't still in the condition that he expected it to be, or the condition that he dropped it off in. So he did that, and then I spoke to him a week ago, and the outcome was his bill that I gave him, that was covered by BMW. So that was the outcome of that case.
Yeah. So of a almost £4,000 repair bill, he got paid what, 300 quid?
Yeah, it was just over 300 quid.
Okay. And he took some legal advice on this. Mm-hmm. And what was the lawyer's view that he spoke to?
So they said it's almost not worth them. It is not worth him taking up the case against such a large company. He said it just wasn't worth him doing it.
Yeah. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And just to be clear, that wasn't legal advice from White Dalton yes. or from me, because I had a completely different view when I saw the pictures and I saw what had happened. So it's actually a very straightforward case. If you contract with someone to do a service, so in this case, he'd got them to collect his bike, off it went, there is a statutory provision that work under the consumer rights will be carried out with reasonable care and skill. Yeah. Okay, very simple.
You expect that, don't you?
Absolutely.
You give your pride and joy to somebody, you expect to be looked after.
This is it. And I get why he was concerned to begin with, because normally if a company comes and picks up your bike in the back of the van, it's shielded from the weather. So putting it on the back of a trailer is not wrong, but to bring it back in a damaged state where it's got stone chips when it didn't have before, when it had damaged, scratches to the tank.
It definitely looked like it had been covered in salt because it was middle of winter and they'd almost left it outside for a couple of weeks.
So arguably that's not carrying out the work with reasonable care and skill. Yeah. Now that would be his cause of action. And I have to say, the solicitor, when he said it's not worth taking on BMW, what he might have meant, and I don't know the firm that advised, but what he might have meant was it's not worth the lawyer dealing with it because it's a small claim. Now, what I mean by that is this. If you sue anyone and the claim is worth less than £10,000 in value for bike damage, then it's a small claim and legal costs are not recoverable. So it doesn't mean that you haven't got a claim. You still have a claim. It just means that you can't use a law firm to bring it because you'll end up paying the lawyer more than you're going to recover. So economically, it doesn't make sense. But you can definitely go back to BMW and say, you were supposed to take reasonable care and skill in transporting this bike. You didn't, and it's come back to me with almost £4,000 worth of damage. I hold you responsible. And if they disagree, that's fine. They can disagree. Yep. You can then go down the small claims track to bring your case before a judge, and the judge will sit there, will look at the service they've provided, will look at the allegations you make, which is the damage caused by them carrying out the work in that manner, and will then give a judgment. On balance, I think you'd win that every single day of the week.
So knowing now what you know and what I've just told you, what would you recommend him to do now? Even though he's had this settlement now, is there anything else you would recommend?
That's a really good question. I think part one, it depends on the settlement. Yes. So you have to very carefully look on the wording of the settlement. If it's in full and final settlement, that's it. He's done a bad deal. It's finished. If actually it was open-ended and they only paid for part of the repair work and left the rest, then he's still able to go and follow this up through the small claims track. He has got a 6-year limitation from the date of the breach. So if he's still within time,
he's within a year. So yes,
he can go online, use the online system, pay the court fee, issue proceedings, and this will end up before a judge to decide, have they taken reasonable care and skill, or have they been in breach of that part of the act, in which case he's likely to win. From what I've seen, I think he's got a really good case to win. But I'd have to look at the terms of the settlement.
Well, I'll be passing his number on, I think.
Very much. Well, we'll happily have a chat with him.
Excellent.
Hope you've enjoyed the videos. As ever, please do like and subscribe. If you could put in the comments below any questions you've got, I'm sure I'll be speaking to you, Mike, at some point in the future.
Definitely will.
Or we can do a follow-up video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and see you on the next one.